know?
October 1977. Black students nationwide were worried. Affirmative action in higher education was under attack. In 10 years of affirmative action efforts, the numbers of black students enrolled in colleges and universities had more than doubled.
When I went to Washington to run education in the Carter administration in 1977, one of the first things that happened was the head of my statistical agency came in to see me, and she said, "Good news, the college-going rate for blacks is equal to the college-going rate for whites for the first time in American history."
Thank you for my bud. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for my bud. I thank you, Lord. Thank you for my good sisters. Thank you, Lord.
So this was just wonderful news. And I thought to myself, boy, if we can just keep up this progress for the next few years, just think of how far we will have come.
Black progress was facing a challenge. Alan Bakke was an engineer in his 30s when he decided to become a doctor. He was turned down by 12 medical schools, twice by the one at the University of California at Davis. Bakke sued Davis. He alleged its affirmative action program unfairly limited his chances of admission. But Toni Johnson was admitted to Davis Medical School. First in her family to attend college, she had gone to Stanford University on an academic scholarship and graduated in 3 years.
When I was selected for UCA Davis and went into Davis, it was not until well into my first year that I had any idea that I had been selected through affirmative action. Certainly I had met all the criteria for regular entrance. Certainly there were other students, white students, who did not even meet the same criteria. Their GPA was far less than mine. Their MCAT scores were far less than mine. So I had no idea that I had even come in through affirmative action.
Okay, you want to hold him?
I heard about Alan Bakke the very first year I was in medical school. There was not much said other than there was a guy who wanted to get into our class, and he was really angry that he didn't get into the class, so he was going to sue.
I think from the day Bakke walked in our door, we knew what was at stake. Back then, people said that these programs, like the Davis program, are great things because they include people and bring them into the class. And I think the shortcoming of that analysis is they forget that when you bring in one person, you're keeping out another person.
The Bakke case reached the Supreme Court and stimulated a national debate on affirmative action.
I think we were making enormous progress before anyone conjured up this perversion of affirmative action. I believe there's been a good faith effort, too, on the part of most Americans to comply, to drop the blinders that too many of us have worn over the years. No, the progress has been made. But what we are now seeing, and what I fear, frankly, is a backlash, and a very serious backlash. You see this in unions, for example. You see this in colleges, even in colleges, where people are saying we must discriminate against someone who happens to be white and happens to be male.
When you start talking about affirmative action as being preferential treatment, you have already set up a situation where anybody who is the beneficiary of preferential treatment will lose. If you say reverse discrimination against somebody, it already sounds like a bad thing is happening, and you don't focus on what the injustice was.
If, in fact, women, blacks, Hispanics have been excluded, the question becomes, how do you include them? How do you make up for the legal wrong?
Hundreds of people camped overnight on the steps of the Supreme Court to gain admission to what was being called the most important civil rights case since Brown versus Board of Education. Archibald Cox defended UCal Davis. He argued for using race as a factor in selecting qualified applicants, not to discriminate against whites, but to remedy the effects of generations of discrimination against blacks. Bakke's lawyer, Reynold Colvin, presented his client as one discriminated against because of his race.
We believe that this is a case where an individual's rights have been deprived. We think
One of the more unfortunate things about the Bakke case is that it became the vehicle for educating, or should I say, miseducating the public about affirmative action. The public learned about affirmative action almost literally for the first time through sound bites, 10-second sound bites on television, with people polarized against one another. As a result, what is really a quite complicated concept, one hard enough to explain even if you have a lot of time, became digested as an element of unfairness.
The Supreme Court handed down a divided decision. The only thing clear was that Bakke would be admitted to Davis. Affirmative action was found permissible but not mandatory. Civil rights advocates worried that the court had backed off from unequivocal support. Did this signal a change in the way that America looked at civil rights?
You think it's going to be bad for minorities?
I think it's going to be definitely bad for minorities. I think people would instead of, the sincerity involved in really going out and getting minority students into different professional schools, that sincerity will be lost, all right, since there is a legal precedent stated now that, it sort of kills the thrust of the program.
By 1979, the climate of opinion had changed almost completely in the country on issues related to civil rights and the advancement toward equality for blacks in American society. For example, people would say, well, we can't have equal opportunity and excellence at the same time. And what did they mean by excellence? In many cases, it seemed that they meant an absence of black folk at every level of any importance in the society.
For many Americans, the cost of remedying a history of discrimination was too high. For others, the cost of turning back were all too clear. When she completed her studies, Dr. Toni Johnson Chavez set up practice in a Black and Latino community.
There are a large amount of poor people, and there are only 2 pediatricians in that whole city. The 2 pediatricians here are both black. If the 2 of us had not been trained in that era and were not here, who would fulfill that need? That's the question I asked then, and that's the question that I ask now.
Okay, so obviously we're talking about the idea of affirmative action tonight. And let's just start this conversation off with what is your feelings about the idea of race being used as a positive, which is what the courts have rendered it, a positive factor, not the sole determining factor in admissions. And of course, Alan Bakke's case was in the late 1970s. But we have the Abigail Fisher case of a couple years ago that pretty much led the court to say the exact same thing. So how do you feel about race being used as a factor? Is it a violation of the equal protection under the law rights that whites and Jews, because Alan Bakke was Jewish, that they exist up under? What do you think?
I'll pop it off first. I had a lot of experience with this when I applied to med school all those years ago. And on all those interviews. And I will say this, race was used as a factor for my admission to a lot of schools. Even though my GPA was great at MCAT score in the 90th percentile, still, unfortunately, there was still certain doors that were closed because of certain admissions committees. I mean, you got a bad interviewer, a lot of things happened. So I remember I had an interview at Vanderbilt that was really weird. It was a weird interview. I mean, one of the most bizarre things ever. I got asked some of those off the wall things that I never got asked in an interview before. And I knew the interview went bad. It was just like, so he knew I was, so I put in my application. I was really big in, I love the opera. I was really into opera and things like that. And so he goes down this rabbit hole about Porgy and Bess. Like that's the only opera black folks know. Like he spends like a half an hour on Porgy. Like, I'm like, okay. First of all, I had never seen Porgy and Bess ever in my life before by that point at 21 years old. but I'm more a Mozart, Beethoven guy. So it was just really bizarre. It was a really bizarre interview. I didn't click with the school, hated it. Still got admitted anyway. And so I knew race was used as a factor. So, because unfortunately, a lot of times in things like medicine, especially and professional school, there's a lot of subjectiveness in it. There's a lot of subjectiveness. There's a lot of, do you get along? Can you play in the sandbox with us? Can you get on our wavelength, whatever that happens to me? Or here's my favorite quote: "Are you the right fit?" And we already know what that means. So affirmative action.
But whoa. Just in case for some of our listeners, some of the other participants, what does that mean?
Right? So listen, right fit essentially means, okay, are you the right skin color? If you're not the right skin color, are we confident you're not going to do anything to make us feel uncomfortable while you're here? Are you going to speak out? Are you going to be assertive? Are you going to push for change that's positive in a positive direction, that's going to be more equitable for all people? If you're not going to do that, they don't mind letting you in. So if you're going to sit there and be quiet and just take it and just get along and backslap with them, they'll love to have you. Oh, come on in. They'll invite you to even have dinner with them and their family. They have no issue with that. If you're going to be outspoken, you're going to be an advocate for people, especially people who are vulnerable and poor and forgotten and left behind, yeah, you might become a threat. You see it as a threat in that case. You can't be outspoken and a lot of times in those career choices sometimes. You have to be very careful. So affirmative action does codify that, because what happens is you get these really interesting blind spots. And so you realize now, oh God, we got all these old elderly people coming. Nobody wants to take care of them. We don't have anybody to take care of these old people, old Blacks, old Latinx people, and old poor people. Who's going to take care of these folks? Well, if you're upper middle class, you're not going to Watts. You're not going to 3rd and 5th Ward. You're not going to go to Pork and Beans in Miami to go take care of these people in these communities. You need people who look, talk, and act and think like them. So in certain contexts, it does play an important role, and it does have a place in academic enhancement and advancement.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Other panelists, how do you feel about this idea of race being used as a factor?
I agree. I agree with him. I mean, to me, affirmative action was saying that, before affirmative action, race was used as a factor. If you're Black, we don't want you at our school. If you're Black, we don't want you going to school with our children, and so it was used as a factor before. And so now, affirmative action says that you can't discriminate against people because they're Black, because they're not white. I mean, I don't understand what the issue is. I've never understood what the opposition was to affirmative action, because there's no university, there's no med school that is going to admit a Black student who has poor, MCAT scores and got a 2.5 coming out of undergrad. That's just not, race is not going to be a factor there. It's not going to happen. It just says we're not going to discriminate against people because they're Black or because they're not white. You still got to have all of the qualifications to get in.
Okay, thank you for that, Sister Vernell. And the research pro, jump right in.
Good evening. My family over here giving me a hard time.
Mom, can I have a treat?
No, go brush your teeth. Yes, definitely. So I just wanted to chime in a little bit. We know why affirmative action is necessary. We know that amongst ourselves, and we know why people.
Whoa. Maybe some people listening don't know. Expound upon what it is that you're insinuating.
Well, we know that it's necessary because the country we live in is historically exclusive. So it's built on excluding people. And so there had to be some sort of policy put into place because people weren't going to do it out of the goodness of their hearts. So there had to be some sort of policy put into place to make sure that opportunities, and then you can't even say that the opportunities were distributed equally, but to carve out a tiny slice of opportunity for non-white men.
So are these reparations?
I don't think it's reparations. I think reparations, in my opinion, reparations is more of a give you. Give me, it's just free. There's no conditions. It's just yours. I'm repaying you. I'm repairing and repaying a debt. Reparations is different from you have to meet these certain qualifications in this particular industry, in this particular field, and then you get opportunity. Reparations is repaying a debt that's already been accrued. So for me, those are very different. And what Carlton talks about, when he talked about the fit, I can certainly appreciate that. And I've never been the right fit at my job. After the first couple years, it's like, oh, she's one of those kind of Black people. She loves her Blackness. She stands up for Blackness. She makes space for Blackness, not just Blackness, but I speak my mind. I will lead and speak my mind, whether or not it's congruent with management. And I will coalesce everyone else when we all disagree with management. And I will be the voice, the dissenting voice when others are quiet. So that certainly makes me not be the right fit. But I do want to push back a little bit on something that Carlton said, this idea that only Black people, that Black doctors can only serve Black patients, or working class doctors can only serve working class patients. And I don't think that's exactly what he was trying to say, but I just want to clarify that,
Yeah, so I'm sorry. I was saying the data shows that you're much more likely. The data says you're much more likely if you identify from those communities to go and serve said communities.
Yeah.
In healthcare. And that's been, the Sullivan report from 1991 has been clear on that. The updated report in 2003 has been clear on that. And every bit of data I've seen, it says, listen, if you identify with these groups or these socioeconomic groups, you're much more likely to go serve said groups. And that's all I was trying to get across there. My apologies.
No apologies necessary. But the reason why I am pushing back on that is because in my experience, I find that is used as a restriction. So when I worked for one of the largest universities in the world, it was pretty clear the Black fundraisers are going to work with the Black donors. And we need to hire a Latinx fundraiser to work with these populations. And, and so those restrictions was there. So it's like, yeah, you making space for different types of professionals, but I know how to talk to white people. I know how to talk to, any and everyone. I don't have to be limited to just Black people or Black people you think I identify with because of the color of our skin. We're not, and we know that we're not a monolithic group. So that's my only point there, but I do appreciate
one of the argument that the defense for affirmative action that the state of California's lawyers used, it's a very interesting, and this is the actual quote that the guy says. He says, everybody can't make titties.
What?
Everybody can't make titties. And what he meant by that is, let's face facts, we're in California, one of the most vain places on the face of the planet Earth. And so many of these people who are going to medical school, they plan on being plastic surgeons.
Oh.
And so we need to have diversity within the medical school because it's going to benefit the people of California, because you're going to have people like Dr. Johnson that you saw who are going to go and serve as, pediatricians and what have you, and serve the populace versus having just this one monolithic group of individuals who are all going for the money. And that's the greatest utility of medical school for them. Brother Otis, go right ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, does it matter if you further get down into, I guess, maybe Blackness in a sense? Because today that would be a problem of who do you mean by Black? Is it somebody from Africa, or is it going to be somebody that's here in America or whatnot?
Yep. See, that's a very good issue that you bring up, but it's one of the the missteps that I would argue that Black leaders made. They did not consider this to be a form of reparations, and so they allowed it to be divided up. So now it's non-white males and everyone else. And what, in the system, it always alters itself so seamlessly to continue its position of power. What these white males did when they allowed white females to access this affirmative action pot as far as being a minority business, these men just put their businesses in their wives' names. And now voila, you have a whole nother revenue stream coming in. So yeah, it should have been cordoned off, from my opinion, to solely the descendants of enslaved Africans. Because quite simply, you have to really think about who was the injury committed against and who are you trying to give access. Go right ahead, Sister Regina.
I agree with that 100%. My question is, was losing that focus, was that really our fault? Was that really something that we controlled as Black people? Did Black leadership control the definition?
I believe that Black leadership could have fought more and could have worked for a definition versus trying to be so inclusive, because this is the time, and we know the code word. The code word is multiculturalism.
Yeah.
You gave it up. Nobody else wanted even a morsel of our struggle, but everybody wants to jump on the gravy train when it comes to the rewards of the Black struggle. And that's one of the reasons why I asked the question about, are these reparations? Because if they're viewed as reparations, a repair for a prior injury, that's a Black lane. And by Black, I mean Black. I don't mean, recent immigrant, what have you. I mean Black. And that's kind of my thing. I think Black leadership and Black political commentators, Black writers should have framed it in that way versus simply breaking the monopoly of white male privilege. Those are two different diagnoses. Sister Vernell, go right ahead.
Yeah, I was, it was Sister Regina's question about did Black people really, have anything to do with the way affirmative action panned out? And I'm kind of thinking not. The way it shakes up with me, and James, you're the historian here. But you had Black people asking for, progress, demanding progress. And you also had white women who were also, having their women's movement and wanting progress and wanting equality. And it looks like white men was like, well, let's just kind of mash this up together and call it affirmative action for everybody who's not us. That's the way it seems like to me.
I hear you, and I understand what you're saying, but what I will say about that, and this is my brother Maurice kind of channeling through me. Well, then what the hell are the Black political leaders that we elected doing? If they're not doing representing us at that moment, what good are they?
Back then, I think that for them, it looked like they were getting what they were asking for.
What do you mean?
Like if we're still talking about affirmative action, even though white women, everybody who wasn't a white male, is lumped into this category of being eligible for affirmative action, it seems to me that our Black leaders, they probably thought it may have looked to them like they were getting what they were asking for. So what if white women, and women get to, gain admissions into these areas, and gender isn't held against them? but if race isn't held against us, then we're getting what we're asking for. I really think they fell for it. I think they, at the time, they probably thought that that was what they were asking for.
Well, if that, and I believe that you're correct, but that the historical record then reveals them and shows them as being politically inept, naive, and short-sighted.
It's possible. It's
Yeah, I
possible.
mean, because
Yeah.
and it's the exact same thing with the war on drugs, with the CBC joining along with that and saying, well, we need to really do something to save Black America. Are they that politically inept? Okay, do they not see it coming? And that's, it's a subtle yet colossal difference between referring to affirmative action as being a program aimed at helping Black folk versus one aimed at leveling the field for all minorities. And then you don't have the gall to stand up strong and argue about defining what minority is.
Right.
So we have a problem there. Anyone else want to jump in? Anyone else? One of the, and I think that you saw it in the video snippet that we viewed, this idea about standardized tests and standardized test scores. Although these standardized tests are now being de-emphasized, and I have to giggle, because anytime that I see white folk de-emphasizing something that they have used as an Excalibur at earlier moments, there has to be a reason behind it. And of course, that reason that they're de-emphasizing these standardized tests is explained in 2 words, and that is the Tiger Mom. Because Asian kids are outperforming white kids in regards to this. So they found another way. But what I wanted to do is do something that is in honor of a unknown, I've never been able to find this brother's name. He was allegedly a social work student who was forced to take a IQ test in one of his social work classes. And this brother is in graduate school, and he takes the test, and when they tallied up the scores, he scored in the range of being educably retarded. Okay, now just consider that. He's educably retarded. Now, as the only Black student in the class, can you imagine the shame and the embarrassment of that? Being it's already rough enough to be be the only one in the room, but after you take the test and they tally it up and they're snickering and laughing and they say, hey, you're actually, educably retarded. The brother fumed. But he did something that I wish more of us would do. He went one step further than just being mad. He went home and thought, and he said quite simply, I could create a test that y'all couldn't pass. And what he's pointing out is the bias that is associated with these standardized tests that really mean a whole lot. For many of us, these standardized tests will determine if we're able to go to graduate school, if we're going to get admitted to undergrad. I remember taking a GRE, and at the end of it, I knew I got one question right. And it wasn't how do you spell your name either. I'm sure somebody is thinking that right about now. The question I got right, and I'm going to present it to y'all, and you tell me if you can get it right. And I will venture to guess that Carlton will get it right, because he's one of those Jeopardy type cats that know these weird things. I believe Brother Maurice will get this right because of the region that he lives in. The rest of y'all, I don't think so. Miss Parker may get this right as well. But this was the question that I knew I got right. What is the name of Elvis's home? Feel free to answer.
Graceland.
Graceland.
Yeah. Who doesn't know that?
People who don't have any association with Memphis, Tennessee, or Elvis. Okay, I knew that I got that correct because my mother's family is from Memphis, and that was our activity. Ain't nothing else in Memphis really. They would take us to Graceland every summer. Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how I knew that. Like when did I learn that? I don't know. I knew it though.
And that's the point. And that's the point. A lot of times, these tests, especially for grad school,
you don't want to let us know nothing about your social life.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
No, honestly, I don't.
You don't know how you know that.
Yeah, I don't know where I learned it or when or even when I learned it at all. But yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe it was because I grew up in Kentucky. I don't know.
That could be it, because I guarantee you that the people around there probably revered Elvis. Now, what I want you to do, if you have it available to you, a sheet of paper and a pen or a pencil, we are going to take a intelligence test.
Oh my.
And I do this with my students often. It is a very easy exercise. Don't do like my students did this year and actually cheat on a test that doesn't count for anything. Okay. All right. Don't, if you cheat on a test that doesn't count, that means you are a devout cheater. There's no hope for you. Okay. You come from a long line of cheaters. But I want to go ahead and take this test, and as I said, you're aiming for 23. And the reason that I have 23 correct, okay, is because I have given this test over the past 15 years to the janitorial staff of the university where I work at. And the average over that time is 23. It's about a 63, 64% score. Now, in saying that, do you believe that you can measure intelligence? Because if you believe that you can measure intelligence, that means instead of are you smarter than a fifth grader, are you smarter than the janitorial staff that works at the school? So let's go ahead and jump into this. And all I can say is best of luck to you. And if you do not get 23, I am going to ask politely and gingerly right now that you put into the chat that you are returning your black card.
Oh my goodness. How many questions is on here?
40 questions.
Okay. Is multiple choice?
Yes, it is. So let's go through it. Question number 1. A handkerchief head is A, cool cat, B, a porter, C, a Uncle Tom, D, a hottie. Okay. Which word is most out of place here? A, black, B, blood, C, gray, D, spook. A quote unquote gas head is a person who has a fast moving car, B, a process, C, a habit of stealing cars, or D, a long jail record for arson. Okay, if I'm going too fast, please let me know. Bo Diddley is a game for children, B, down home cheap wine, C, down home singer, D, new dance.
This is a mess already.
Take that as a sign that I'm collecting at least one black card here tonight. 5. Hully Gully came from A, East Oakland, B, Fillmore, C, Watts, D, Harlem. Number 6, cheap chitlins not the kind you purchase at a frozen food counter. Cheap chitlins will taste rubbery unless they are cooked long enough. How soon can you quit cooking them to eat and enjoy them? A, 45 minutes. B, 2 hours. C, 24 hours. D, 1 week on a low flame.
Okay, hold on. Go back to the chitlins question.
It's right there. You see it on your screen?
Yep.
All you gotta do is let us know how long you cook your chitlins, Vernell.
You're assuming that I've ever cooked chitlins.
If you never cooked chitlins, that is a character flaw. Can I go forward?
Yes, proceed.
7. What are the Dixie hummingbirds? A, part of the Ku Klux Klan. B, a swamp disease. C, a modern gospel group. D, deacons. If you throw the dice and 7 is showing on the top, what is facing down? A, 7. B, snake eyes. C, boxcars. D, 11. Jet is A, an East Oakland motorcycle club. B, a gang in West Side Story. C, a news and gossip magazine. D, a way of life for the very rich. 10. T-Bone Walker got famous for playing what? A, the trombone. B, the piano. C, the T-flute. D, the guitar. Bird or Yardbird was the jacket that jazz lovers from coast to coast hung on. A, Lester Young. B, Peggy Lee. C, Benny Goodman. D, Charlie Parker. Number 12. Hattie Mae Johnson is on the county. She has 4 children and her husband is now in jail for non-support as he was unemployed and was not able to give her any money. Her welfare check is now $286 per month. Last night she went out with the highest player in town. If she got pregnant, then 9 months from now, how much more will her welfare check be? A, $80. B, $35. C, $150. D, $100.
Hold on.
Shouldn't her check go up?
Man, listen, I'm doing real math here, man.
I know. Stop scrolling.
The question is still there. Hattie Mae Johnson is on the county. She has 4 children and her husband is now in jail for non-support as he was unemployed and was not able to give her any money. Her welfare check is now $286 per month. Last night, she went out with the highest player in town. If she got pregnant, then 9 months from now, how much more will her welfare check be?
There's a lot of bias infused in that question.
What kind of bias is in the question?
Why she got to go out with a player? And why she got to get pregnant?
We getting ready. We'll return to that. Okay, we'll return. Number 13. This is a popular saying. Money don't get everything is true. A, but I don't have none and I'm so blue. B, but what it don't get, I can't use. C, so make do with what you got. D, but I don't know that and neither do you.
Okay, can you repeat that again? Because it's blurry on my screen.
Okay, money don't get everything is true, but I don't have none and I'm so blue. That's A. Money don't get everything is true, but what it don't get, I can't use. That's B. Money don't get everything is true, so make do with what you got. That's C. Money don't get everything is true, but I don't know that and neither do you. That's selection D. 14. How much does a short dog cost? A, 15 cents, B, $2, C, 35 cents, D, a nickel. And no, I will not answer what a short dog is.
I have no idea.
Many people say that Juneteenth, June 19th, should be made a legal holiday because this was the day when A, the slaves were freed in the USA, B, the slaves were freed in Texas, C, the slaves were freed in Jamaica, D, the slaves were freed in California. The saying that he's clean means A, fresh out of the shower, B, not carrying drugs, C, well-dressed, D, extremely smart. The saying that he's clean means fresh out of the shower, not carrying drugs, well-dressed, or extremely smart. Who wrote The Road to Riches? A, Kool Moe Dee, B, Big Daddy Kane, C, Ice-T, D, Kool G Rap. Who performed a soulful rendition of the Star Spangled Banner at the NBA All-Star Game? A, Prince, B, Marvin Gaye, C, TLC, D, Al Green. Who was the first woman to run for the US presidency? A, Shirley Chisholm, B, Hillary Clinton, C, Jane Goodall, D, Susan B. Anthony. Number 20. What religious leader was known as the Charmer during an earlier music career? A, Malcolm X, B, Louis Farrakhan, C, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, D, Father Divine.
I've now got 3 right.
All right, so you at 15%. You need to step it up.
Can we go back one?
To which one? 19 or 20?
The 19, I think, yeah, the actual president.
Who was the first woman to run for the US presidency? Shirley Chisholm, Hillary Clinton, Jane Goodall, or Susan B. Anthony?
Thank you.
All right. 21. The lead rapper for Public Enemy was A, Chuck D, B, Flavor Flav, C, KRS-One, D, Paris. The first person to say Black Power during the 1960s was A, James Brown, B, Al Green, C, Stokely Carmichael, D, Willie Ricks. Which artist is closely associated with the P-Funk? A, Shock G, B,
May he rest in peace.
B, George Clinton, C, Big Baby, D, all of the above. '24. Tupac Amaru Shakur was born in A, Baltimore, B, Harlem, C, Marin City, D, Oakland. Number 25. My dogs are barking means A, my feet are sore, B, my feet hurt, C, my shoes are too tight, D, all of the above. 26. Which group made Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos? A, Public Enemy, B, Busta Rhymes, C, The Last Poets, D, Sister Soldier. Are you waiting for my arm to fall off? Is a classic line from what movie? A, School Days, B, Lady Sings the Blues, C, Mo Better Blues, D, Sparkle.
Oh, that's my favorite.
The father on Good Times was named A, Jerry, B, JJ, C, James, D, Bookman. 29. Jim Brown was a famous A, athlete, B, movie star, C, political activist, D, all of the above. Drez is the lead rapper in what group? A, the Lords of the Underground, B, Black Sheep, C, X-Clan, D, Digital Underground. Number 31. Nasir Jones's first album was titled A, Stillmatic, B, Illmatic, C, Automatic, D, Too Tragic. Who sung I Will Survive? A, Whitney Houston, B, Yolanda Adams, C, Gloria Gaynor, D, Hezekiah Walker. What was Muhammad Ali's former name? A, Sonny Liston, B, Cassius Clay, C, Joe Louis, D, Carl Johnson. 34. Malcolm X was a member of which organization? A, Nation of Islam, B, the OAAU, C, Muslim Mosque Incorporated, D, all of the above. Michael Ray Richardson was A, boxer, B, pugilist, C, politician, D, basketball player. 36. The lead singer of LTD was A, Jeffrey Osborne, B, Luther Vandross, C, Teddy Pendergrass, D, Prince. Number 37.
Hold on.
Freeway Ricky Ross. Go ahead. Freeway.
Okay. Go for it.
Okay. Freeway Ricky Ross garnered fame as A, drug dealer, B, corrections officer, C, rapper, D, race car driver. Bruce Leroy was A, the last dragon, B, a political leader, C, Bruce Lee's son, D, Sho'nuff. Number 39. Marvin Gaye recorded many songs with whom? A, Diana Ross, B, Gladys Knight, C, Tammy Terrell, D, Michael Jackson. And last but not least, number 40. Billy D. Williams, aka Lando Calrissian, was the spokesperson for what? A, malt liquor, B, candy, C, love, D, wine.
Now I know what the real answer is, but there's a second answer that could be argued for.
Could that be what he intended? Because keep in mind, this brother is actually motivated by what? Proving bias in the construction of tests.
Right.
All right. So, how you feeling?
I have never been more unsure of a test in my life.
Okay. All right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to stop the share. Okay. And you know what? No, I'm going to leave the share there. Okay. Who feels as if they got at least half correct? Who feels as if they're keeping their black card tonight?
I do.
I do.
Okay.
Just barely, but
Barely, huh? Okay.
Unless my guessing game is strong, I might have to give it up.
Hey, C's get degrees, baby. C's get degrees.
Some of this is before my time. I just want to say.
Yes, me too, Regina.
Okay. A handkerchief head is C, and Uncle Tom.
Oh, I got it right.
Which word is most out of place here? Black, blood, gray, spook.
Gray.
Spook.
Gray.
Gray.
You know what? Guess what I did? I'll show it to you. I wrote down spook, but then I changed it to gray because I was like, all those others are people. That's what that was it. Because I was like, oh, these are colors, but spook is not a color. But then I was like, oh no, but spook is a name, and so is blood and black. So I changed it to C. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk. Go do all that. Go for it. It's crazy. This test is crazy.
Gas head is a person who has a.
I put process.
A process, a perm, or as Stokely Carmichael referred to it as a temporary. Okay.
I might get to keep my black card, y'all. I'm so excited.
Bo Diddley is a down home singer. Hully Gully came from East Oakland. What is Hully Gully?
Who knows?
Is it a dance?
It is a dance. Okay.
Where is Fillmore? Is that Detroit?
No.
Is that even real?
It is real.
I heard of Hully Gully, but I don't know where it came from.
Cheap chitlins. How long you got to cook them, Vernell? Comment how long you got?
24 hours, man.
I put 24 hours. I put C 24 hours.
24 hours?
24. Yeah, C.
It is 24 hours. What are the Dixie Hummingbirds?
Singing group.
A modern gospel group.
That's what I picked.
Are they white or black?
They are black.
Wow.
Yeah, I believe they're black. I'm not sure, but I think they're black.
Swamp disease.
If you throw the dice and 7 is showing on the top, what is facing down?
7-11.
7. 5 and 2 are on opposite sides. 4 and 3 on opposite sides, and 6 and 1
11.
on opposite sides. So it's always 7. If it's 7 on top, it's 7 on the bottom.
Oh.
There's two sevens on a dice.
And the dice player, brother Otis.
Hey,
there are two.
The OG who can't play craps. Go ahead, Vernell.
Oh, so there are 2 dice. There are 2 of them.
Oh Lord, yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
You know she a holy roller. She don't be slinging dice out here, man.
A dice has 6 sides. Okay, if somebody rolls a dice and a 7 is on there, they're cheating. Okay.
I'm not a holy roller. It's just in the neighborhood I grew up, when people were shooting craps, I knew to go the other way because somebody's gonna get knifed, in about 30 minutes. So I never stuck around to learn anything.
Wow. San Francisco 49ers selected Trey Lance. Okay. Jet is what? A news and gossip magazine.
Yes.
And the Gang and West Side Story too, man.
But this is the question.
I know.
Think about identity. You got to know the identity of the person asking the question as one of the biases that he built into this. Okay. T-Bone Walker got famous for playing what?
Who knows?
Guitar.
Trombone?
Okay.
Guitar.
Oh.
You
That's
were
what I
by T-Bone. Okay.
I had the same guess, Regina.
I put piano, but I knew that wasn't right.
Okay. Number 11. Please don't miss this. Bird or Yardbird was the jacket that jazz lovers from coast to coast hung on.
D.
Charlie Parker.
Is it Charlie Parker?
Yeah.
Parker. Bird.
Yeah, I got it right.
Yeah, he was such an improvisationist that you didn't know where he was going. Okay. How much money is Hattie Mae Johnson getting?
She's getting $150.
How'd you come up with that?
More money, more kids. However it goes.
And I think it's half of the original base amount, plus a percentage more. I think it's something like that. Can't remember what exactly.
No.
Yeah. How do we figure that?
Okay.
How many kids she have, the money you get, right?
How many children does she have?
1.
4.
She's got 4.
Four
Four
kids
right now.
Okay.
So what?
Put divide 286 by 4.
72 per kid.
72 per kid. However, You have to pay attention. That's from her husband's pay.
Okay.
Okay. She's now out with the highest roller in town.
Okay.
It's 150.
So he's gonna get more out of his check. Okay.
He's gonna get more out of his check. It's 150. Okay.
Okay, cool.
And if he's the highest player, he is not reporting that income. That is not
Correct,
why.
Regina.
You think any of this is legit?
No. If you were somewhere and you heard that, then you would swear that it was not one of us who said that. Now, he's not reporting that income, is he? I know how they do. Money don't get everything is true, but what it don't get, I can't use.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
How much does a short dog cost?
I didn't know that.
What is a
Is
short
it
dog?
$2.
What's a short dog?
Is it
I don't know.
beer?
It's a hot
Fifth.
dog.
Oh.
It's 5 cents.
A nickel?
It's 5 cents.
Nickel?
Wait,
Okay,
what is
Hey,
a short
I got it
dog?
right. I have no idea, but I got it right.
Hold on. 14 was what? Oh man, it was a
D.
nickel.
D. Yep.
5 cents. Maybe
And what
I was just
is
guessing.
a short dog?
a holiday because this was the day when the slaves were freed in Texas.
Yes, I knew that.
Galveston. The saying that he's clean means
C.
well dressed.
Well dressed.
It
well
can
dressed.
mean all of those.
No.
Yes. It can mean that you're not carrying drugs.
What's the identity of the person who created the test?
Yeah, I understand, but I'm saying it can definitely mean no drugs.
If he was a cop, it would.
No, I'm not a cop, and I know if somebody says I'm clean.
There's only one correct answer. 17. Who wrote
Cool G Rap?
to Riches?
Cool G Rap.
Okay.
I'm embarrassed I didn't know that one. I
Who?
couldn't remember.
Whoa. I am
I couldn't
34 years old. I knew
remember.
that was Cool G Rap. That's before you was born.
For 5 extra points, Carlton, can you give
Wait
me
a minute.
the first line of the Road to Riches?
The first line, man.
Oh.
When I was 5 years old. Hold on. When I was 5 years old.
I realized there was a
Guys,
room, and at the end there would be lots of pots of gold. Yeah.
That's right.
You
Yeah,
probably
I remember 5
know,
years old.
you don't know who Cool G Rap is.
I mean, I'm 34, man. Come on. Come on, time.
Look,
Vernell
I
has
have-
a weird look.
I have never heard of Cool G Rap.
Yo.
I thought it was a fake name on the test to trick white people who might be taking this.
So hold on.
That's
You
what I
hung out
thought.
with Dr. James Jones and don't know who Cool G Rap is.
I
As
do not know
Jay-Z
who
put
Cool G
it,
Rap is.
if I wanted to rap like the greatest rapper alive, I'd rhyme like Cool G Rap. You probably know his wife though, his first wife,
Who's his first wife?
Corinne Steffens.
No,
Hey,
no, no.
Superhead.
Superhead.
Oh, oh.
Yeah, Cool G Rap. Okay.
Unfortunately, I've heard of her.
Okay. And I swear to this day that Cool G Rap and Gucci Mane are the same person. They look exactly
Yeah,
alike.
they probably are.
and they
I've
both-
heard of Gucci Mane. I've heard of him.
Look at a picture of Gucci Mane and then look at Cool G Rap and tell me if that ain't the same person. 18. Who performed a soulful rendition of the Star Spangled Banner at the NBA All-Star game?
Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye at the Forum, high as could be. Okay, go back. Don't nobody wear sunglasses inside. That ain't high. Marvin, and he said he was blowed out his mind.
Marvin Gaye.
It was such a great rendition that Nike made it a commercial.
So
I did not know that. I did not know any of that.
Now I want to reserve this question for Ms. Parker. Okay.
Really?
Who's the first woman to run for the U.S. presidency?
Really? Just because you had me writing about it, I put A.
Shirley Chisholm.
That's right. You know I was gonna get that right. You know I was
In
gonna
which
get that
rapper
right.
for a bonus point said, Reagan was the president, but I voted for Shirley Chisholm.
Ah.
Who said it?
Was it Chuck D?
No. Biz Markie and Biz is going off.
Okay.
What religious leader was known as the Charmer during an early music career?
That would be C. No, that's not C. It's B.
No.
Sorry.
It's
It's
Minister
B.
Farrakhan.
There's
B.
Mr. Farrakhan. He was a
Is it
calypso
B?
singer.
Yeah, it
It's
was
B.
Rush
Calypso.
Limbaugh that referred to him as Calypso Louis
Yep.
every time he mentioned it.
Sorry.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Some calypso.
It's B.
Calypso Louis. Yeah.
Calypso Louis.
B.
Yep.
B.
21. The lead rapper for Public Enemy was
A.
D.
A. Chuck
C.
D.
D. Public Enemy. It's Chuck D.
Chuck
Which
D.
one was it?
Chuck D.
A.
Oh, I missed that one.
I knew that.
The first person to say Black Power during the 1960s was
James Brown.
C.
Willie Ricks.
Who is that?
Yeah.
Willie Mukasa Ricks. He was a SNCC organizer.
Yep.
He was the one that said Black Power first.
Wow. I never
One
heard
of
of
the
him.
wildest brothers that you ever meet in your life. I thought he cost me. I brought him to Prairie View to speak, and he almost cost me my job that day.
I can believe it.
I never thought that I would have to kick a grown man under the table, and I had to kick him under the. We're sitting there with the president, provost, all of them came to meet this historical figure. It was when Justin Timberlake did that to Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Willie Ricks said at the dinner table, he said, "I don't know what the big deal is. It wasn't nothing but a black titty made of water."
What did he say?
He said he don't know what the big deal was. It wasn't nothing but a black titty. It made his mouth water.
Oh my goodness.
So can you imagine? And this is a question right here. Some amazing significance right now. And that significance is one of the individuals is no longer here with us. Which artist is closely associated with the P-Funk?
George Clinton.
E.
All of the above.
Oh, really? Oh, Shock G.
Oh.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. He wrote for them.
Doc G, George Clinton, and Big Baby was a part of. He was the grown man that would be on stage with the Funkadelic with a diaper on. That was
Yeah.
Big Baby.
Oh.
He was still doing that foolishness when they did they last tour 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
Didn't
you
know
got
that.
George Clinton sold. He pawned the rights to Parliament in Funkadelic's music catalog, and to his agent, and he would not return it to him. And it's the reason why you see those cats still touring. They get no
I
money.
did not know that. I'm gonna have to.
You get no
I
money.
got that wrong.
Yeah.
That's awful.
But Shock G from Digital Underground. Tupac Amaru Shakur was born in
Oakland.
Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Harlem.
That's right. And then Brazen, Baltimore. That's right. That's right.
Harlem. You gotta remember, Afeni Shakur was on trial. She was one of the Panther, I think 13. It was on trial. You remember?
Y'all, it's
She was
it's
in
touchy.
prison and she was carrying pop. Getting Dear Mama.
It is touch and go for me.
I didn't
Black
read it.
card.
Okay, number 25.
D.
It is D. How do y'all know?
All of
Huh?
Every woman would get that correct.
26. Which group made Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos?
B.
A. Public Enemy.
Darn it.
I got a letter from the government the other day. I opened and read it. It said they were suckers. They wanted me for their army or whatever. Venture me giving a damn. I said never. Okay. Are you waiting for my arm to fall off?
B.
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 Lady Sings the Blues.
That's B.
Lady Sings the Blues is about
Billy D said it.
Billie Holiday.
James.
I was
Yes.
gonna say, please don't miss this one. The following.
Yeah. Go and give it up if you're gonna do that, man.
Jim Brown was a famous what?
All the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. Drez is the lead rapper in what group?
Is it A?
C.
Black Sheep.
Black Sheep. That's what I was. Black Sheep.
Oh,
Got
darn
that one.
it.
Y'all don't know Drez?
I couldn't remember, and I'm like, it's either A or B.
I got it. You can get with this, or you can get with that.
Yes. Yeah.
I got it. I got it right. I got it right.
Transit line. If the train jumps off the track, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Brothers, still torn.
I have no idea who Drez is, but I got it right, I guess.
Drez, Black Sheep. Nasir Jones, aka Nas. First album was titled what?
BBB.
The greatest hip hop line of all time. We were beginners in the hood of 5%ers, but something must have got us because all of us turned to sinners. Greatest line ever.
What was the answer?
Illmatic.
You know that was AZ, right?
I got that right. I got that right.
I know it's AZ. I mean, where is AZ? Still greatest line ever. Still greatest line ever.
This test is biased against people who don't listen to rap. Continue.
Just like it's biased. The other tests are biased against people who aren't familiar with white culture.
I know.
That was definitely his point. Who sung "I Will Survive"?
C. Oh, C.
Gloria Gaynor.
Gloria Gaynor.
Okay. What was Muhammad Ali's former name?
B.
Okay, please don't put down Carl Johnson. What Carl Johnson was. Okay, Malcolm X was a member of which organization?
All the above.
B.
All the above.
All the above, yeah.
Michael Ray Richardson was a...
No, the lead singer. Oh, sorry.
No, basketball player.
35. Okay, 35.
He's a basketball player.
That's
Oh, I missed that. I put pugilist. I'm kidding. I put
Basketball player.
Boxer and pugilist are the same.
Or the same thing, yeah. Pugilist is the same thing.
Michael Ray Richardson is the first NBA player to be suspended from the league permanently because of drug abuse.
Oh, wow.
Drug
For what?
Coke.
He
stop storing Coke.
Had he was a stutterer, and Michael Jordan said that he was the hardest matchup he ever had. First time they played, Richardson dropped like 56 on Jordan. The lead singer of LTD was.
A.
Oh, look, somebody know that with confidence. Jeffrey Osborne. Because you're a Jeffrey Osborne fan. Okay. Freeway Ricky Ross garnered fame as a
drug dealer.
Drug dealer.
Drug dealer. Yeah. Where Rick Ross gets his name from.
Please don't miss this. If you were Black and a latchkey kid, you should have seen this movie. It was a Black after-school special. Bruce Leroy was
the
Last Dragon. Okay. Marvin Gaye recorded many songs with whom?
Tammy Terrell.
Tammy Terrell.
Tammy Terrell. Billy D. Williams was the spokesperson for what?
45. Who's the other side of the pillow? Works every time.
Okay, guys, I am so sorry. I had some lighting issues over here. Can you give me the answers for 36 on?
Okay. We can go back. 36 on. 36 was the lead singer of LTD was Jeffrey Osborne.
I got it right. Okay.
37, Freeway Ricky Ross garnered fame as a drug dealer.
Oh, I got that right too.
38, Bruce Leroy was
The Last Dragon.
No, 39 is C, Tammy Terrell.
Yes.
And number 40, Billy D. Williams was a spokesperson for malt liquor.
Malt liquor. Right, but you could, but love also, so.
No, he wasn't a spokesperson for love now. He got paid for malt liquor. All right, so how'd you do?
Yo, it was touch and go there with that first half.
Yeah.
I remain light skinned.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I didn't get no darker, but I can stay Black.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I got 28.
Yeah.
Okay, 28. Okay, that's good. That's good. So when you look at this, what are the different biases? What did he prove his point? Because
yes, he did.
They failed this test. They were educably retarded at the end of it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, if you're not have at least some type of basic working knowledge of rap, you know, you're gonna get a significant amount wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. All right.
Especially like, you know, on a regular standardized exam, you're going to see lots of passages about classical music or country music usually. I mean, it always happens on SATs or GREs. There's always that on there. Maybe rock if you're lucky, but they're mostly classical and country music every single flipping time.
Yeah, and you know, and the thing is that really all tests are going to measure is how similar in background and socioeconomic status you are to the person that created the test.
Yeah.
That's why none of y'all know who Drez is, which is
I knew who Drez was. No, hold on. I knew who Drez was. No,
you knew who Drez was. Praise the Lord.
I knew Drez.
Okay, Charlie Parker. I'm a jazz lover. You know, there's a whole lot of things that are specific to me. You know, and then the LTD question as well. That I just threw that in there. That was
like for the Charlie Parker question, there were a few different layers there because they didn't just say like what was his nickname.
Mm-hmm.
It was the jacket he was given. So you have to
know what jacket is.
Yeah, there are a few different things that you had to be aware of to even be able to intelligently even process the question.
Yeah, I mean it's the exact same thing that when you look at the idea of he's clean. Yeah, every answer could have been the right one, but you had to really pay attention to who probably created this test. And that's what he's talking about. So instead of saying he's clean, it's what? He clean. That's the difference. Okay, so in many ways, he really did prove his point. And it's one of those things where these tests that hold real world consequences, especially for Black folk, for Black children trying to advance their education, they can be used as a gatekeeping type of thing. Okay. We are at our time limit, and so we are going to exit as we always do with our dear brother. Come forward and take us on up out of here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Doc. Very interesting little test there. I'm glad I was able to maintain my card. It was looking a little crazy there at first.
I feel you. I'm with you on that, Brother Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
All right. So as we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm gonna kill the nigga in me, and our God will reign supreme. We are Black first, today, tomorrow, and forever. Love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
Love you as well, my brother.
Brother.
Peace.
Thank you all for coming and participating.